is Fred Earls, and I am the Director of Communications for New Foundations. This is a special day, and this is the day that we set aside for the 2021 Gala. Now, it was supposed to be inside, I'm going to be honest with you. We had some excellent food lined up with beautiful place settings. We had entertainment. We had some speakers lined up, and it was going to be inside, as I mentioned. But we stopped and thought about the environment that we're in right now, and we decided to take this virtually just to be safe. So over the next 30 or 40 minutes, I invite you to sit back and relax, and we're going to share with you the mission and vision of New Foundations. You will meet some speakers, the speakers who are going to be with us at the gala. You're going to hear from a gentleman whose life was changed drastically from a curriculum program that he went through that is much like New Foundations. And we serve the 11 counties in southwest Georgia. And we serve the men of these counties who need a hand up, not a hand out. You see, men sometimes get sidetracked in life. Now, this doesn't mean they've been in jail or prison. It could just mean that they are down on their luck. And it is the goal of New Foundations to help these men in a multi-year curriculum to become men who are confident in themselves, who have a way to support their families, who can better communicate with their families. And all of this is taught through the curriculum program at New Foundations. Now, one key piece of the program here at New Foundations is what we call the Transition Center. And every man needs a place to stay, a place to rest, to lay his head at night. And that's what the Transition Center is. It's a place where men who are accepted into the program will have a place to stay. You see, part of the New Foundations program is a counseling program for the men and even their families. And we have some men going through the counseling program right now, but they don't have a place to stay. And that means that they are really living in their cars. And that is what we hope to prohibit. We think that men need a place to stay where they can rest. And so this transition center will be just that. And it will have a classroom, multiple classrooms where they will learn things like budgeting of finances, how to interview for a potential employer, and how to dress for an interview, and even to learn better communication skills. And further, they will have the ability to learn some skills and some job training so that they have a potential employer, something that they can offer them that they can use to make an income, to support their family, their children. And so the Transition Center is the big piece of what New Foundations has to offer. This takes money, and we are aware of that, but it also takes people and time. And over the next 30 or 40 minutes, I want to introduce you to some ways that you can help us. I hope that you will come up with some ways that you can help New Foundations, but we will also talk about a dollar amount that we hope that you will be able to help us achieve. So let's start here. I want to introduce you to our president and our CEO, and I'll be back in just a few moments.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Dwayne Brown, President of the Board of Directors of New Foundations Family Services. I'd first like to say thank you to our incredible Board of Directors. We have a group of professionals that is working to help others overcome the situations in life that men often find themselves going through. I have found that men will move mountains to keep their self-respect, to be able to serve their families, to be able to provide for their families, and love others in the role that God has given us to be able to be providers and be leaders in our families and in our communities. I want to encourage you tonight to help us to help them through giving, through your prayers, and your support. We're working hard to be able to create a men's transition house in Southwest Georgia that's going to be able to serve over 11 counties in this area. We're excited because we know what God's doing in these men's lives, and we know the blessings that God's going to have for you and for us. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Sharon Sermons Brown, founder and CEO of New Foundations Family Services. New Foundations was started because we saw the need to strengthen families in our community.
My name is Brian Milby. I'm 42 years old. I'm the store manager, general manager of the Publix here in Soberton, Georgia. I also oversee our second location in Twin City currently. My job and my career to me is the definition of my recovery. It's what God has blessed me with, to be able to stand on my own 2 feet and provide for me and my 2 kids, and it means everything to me. I went down some bad paths in life and made some poor choices that not only ended me up broke, busted, and disgusted, but it also ended me up in a prison cell. And I served several years in prison. Upon my release, there was still an empty hole from my poor choices, and there's only been one thing that I found to be a constant that's been able to help me overcome that, and that's my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Well, I had totally hit rock bottom. Lost everything when I went to prison. I lost my family, all possessions, everything. There was only one way I could go up, and that was up. Right. So, I mean, and when I started to work a program and put my faith in my Lord and Savior, things started to get better. It wasn't an easy road, and it wasn't an overnight road, but it has happened. There's been a few things, a few sayings that I've held on to and I've repeated in my head. This too shall pass. It's been a good one that I've leaned on. And my favorite scripture is Philippians 4:13. We can do all things through Christ which strengthens us. That one's been a staple in my life. But the fact that people started to want to have me back around was a good example of my recovery and my success where I was headed. When I first found myself deeply involved in the drugs and the alcohol, and I had gotten into trouble, I went to a program that was supposed to have been a 4-month program, and I completed 3 months. I felt like I had it, left on my own, was sentenced to my prison term, served my prison term, but when I got out, like I said before, there was still that empty hole. So I wanted to go back and complete the program, but I felt like God was demanding me to stay there 2 years. So I entered a 4-month program voluntarily, but I served 2 years in that program. And through that program, it gave me solid spiritual foundations, a discipline in the Word. It gave me work skills, contacts. It gave me a support group. And most of all, it gave me time to focus on me. Well, my addiction and my drug use and my sinful life, it didn't happen in 4 months. It happened over a long period of time. I started drinking and drugging when I was 13 years of age. Lost my mother when I was 18 months old. And so there was things in my life that I had never mourned over, I had never dealt with. Again, my addiction didn't happen overnight. I was not your normal case. I think it's case by case sensitive as far as the time, but I know after 4 months I was just starting to get a clear head. So the 2 years for me was kind of my first step of faith and trusting that God had my best interests in mind. It's important that when a man decides to get help, that first of all he's ready. Second of all, that he's willing. When the hurt and the pain gets bad enough, a man's want to will get strong enough. So when you're ready to make that choice, don't try to do it alone. Reach out, because we all need somebody in those times. I've been with Mr. Dale now 4 years. I actually ran our custom butcher shop for him a year, but I've been store manager here at Piggly Wiggly for right at a year now. I've been in the industry this is my 24th year in the industry.
Hey guys, my name is Dale Brown. I'm the owner and operator of Pine Tucky Country Meats in Swainsboro, Georgia. Also own Piggly Wiggly store in Soperton, Georgia, and a Piggly Wiggly in Twin City, Georgia. Just today I want to talk a little bit to you guys about what I see. I'm in my unfinished house. My wife and I are building a house, and so today I want to share a thought or two with you about what I see in our uncompleted house, or incomplete house, I should say. As you see, there's a lot of walls that's been painted, but a lot of trim work that's still missing. There's things that's unfinished, things that's got to be done to this house to make it whole, to make it finished. And it reminds me a little bit about the transition house with men and new foundations, and what's going on with this new foundation program that they're trying to get off started in Southwest Georgia. Well, this house is incomplete as we see. It's going to need resources to take in this house to complete this house. And with the New Foundations Transitional Center for Men, I see a correlation between this house and the men that's going to be in this center. These guys come from broken homes, broken marriages, broken jobs, failures in every aspect of their life. And so without resources, these guys will not get the help that they need to make their life complete and to get back on the road to recovery. So this reminds me of that. Without resources, we're not going to complete this house. Without resources, these guys in the transition center will not be able to be whole again. They're not going to be able to get their lives back together. So I want to just remind you folks that a little help is needed with the New Foundations Transition Center for Men. These guys need a hand up, not a handout. These guys need help. And I want to remind you that if at all possible, do anything for these fellows. Donate your time, your money to the New Foundations program because it's very important in the lives of these men.
You know, I grew up in a Christian Seventh-day Adventist family, and when I stopped believing in the Seventh-day Adventist message, stopped drinking the Kool-Aid, I was really confused because I don't believe that. What do I believe? I think I went to prison the first time when I was 25, and I got out the last time when I was 43. Everything, of course, was related to using drugs. But eventually I did something that was counterintuitive to me for many years. I asked for help, and almost immediately I felt a little better, just because I was doing something about it. I've had some really tough times since I had my epiphany in prison. Of course, I had a great business run with Dave's Killer Bread. But now I'm healed, you know, I feel great. I'm on my way to the next achievements. What I want to do is inspire folks to find their own ways to live with the happiness, the satisfaction that I have in my life. I want to make the world a better place by helping other people become the best they can be. There's a structure to transformation and overcoming and becoming successful. You have to remain true to certain principles for this to happen. The most valuable thing I learned behind bars was humility, and discovering humility and the power of humility, of being just exactly who I am and being okay with it. That's acceptance. The Serenity Prayer says it better than I can. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Accepting my own weaknesses gave me courage. I was like, for the first time in my life, I am looking at my life exactly as it is. I was no longer dwelling on anything negative. I was like, well, if I can't fix that weakness, then that's the way it is. But if I can fix it, then I'm going to fix it, you know, and what's it going to take? Then I started taking risks. They were calculated risks in a positive direction. I could envision a better life, and so I took the steps. I took the steps to create a better life. I'm very passionate about helping others do what I've done. being successful was not an accident. I worked ridiculously hard.
Hello everyone, I'm Gary Black, Commissioner of Agriculture for the state of Georgia, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to share with you this evening, and to certainly to Sharon and Dwayne, the entire board at New Foundations. We appreciate the opportunity of participating. I wish we could be face to face, but we can't during these times, and the wisdom of maybe changing your schedule was the right thing to do. But I'm grateful that you let me squeeze in just a little bit here of the message that we wanted to share. First of all, for the entire group and the ministry and everything that you're doing to impact people's lives, impact the lives of Georgians and improve them. I'm very grateful. Setting a great example. I know that there will be times in the future when we can be together, where we can. I look forward to being able to, hopefully being, actually a part of some of your activities down your way. But step by step, just know that there are many people like me who are proud of you, who are very grateful for what you're doing to serve Georgia, and I'm glad I get to share with you just a little bit tonight. I want to share with you the components of my PhD in life from UGA. Now that's not UGA in Athens, even though that's where my official degrees are from, but this life degree is from the University of Georgia Agriculture. It's what I've learned practically, it's what I've learned professionally, but it really gets back to home. I live on the 69 acres I was raised on in Commerce, Georgia. Lydia and I, that's what our love, that's what our passion is. My dad bought this place in 1969. We moved back in 1993, had an opportunity to raise our children there, and we have a dear respect and love for the land. There are things that I have learned practically that I believe have contributed to a PhD in life, that I think it's actually available to all of us. Sometimes it might be sports, sometimes it might be other type of disciplined activities that actually can impart these same lessons to us. But I kind of look at it through the agricultural lens. That's the way I'm wired. And I hope that this might be a seed, if you don't mind using that analogy too, of that I can plant with someone tonight that will make a difference as we move forward, because I know that's what you're about, is about making the difference in the lives of people. My first lesson comes to this in my PhD for life, is just, and what agriculture has taught me is simply this. You know what? I own the property that I have, that I live on. I own my farm. It was an original family place. We've added to it a couple of times because we've been fortunate enough to do that. Part of it is absolutely Lydia's farm. We share it all, but those 18.9 acres, that's when she started teaching school again, and we were able to acquire some neighboring to put our place together. But we dearly love it. We're thankful. We've worked hard for everything that we have, but you know what? Even though we have with that ownership comes great responsibility. And lesson number one is that, folks, we may own our property, we may own the precious land that we live on, but guess what? Our biggest responsibility is we're actually borrowing it from future generations, and there's great responsibility that comes from that. I've learned a lot from that. Just saying, look, I'm thankful. This is my pursuit of happiness, is exactly what the founders had in mind when they say that the right to own property. That's our little pursuit of happiness in Jackson County. But we're really only borrowing it for the next generation. And that ought to change the way we look at everything, and I think it does for me and my family. Second lesson is, I know that my family is strengthened by the stewardship of that land, because what we do as a family. We come alongside to do the work, to enjoy the benefits that come along with our farm experience, the highs and the lows, the ups and the downs, the good and the bad. We come together and we serve that as a family. So in my PhD, I've learned that agriculture will teach you quite a bit about family. And isn't that what we need more in America? Isn't that what we need more in Georgia? And I'm certainly, those are the kinds of things that you're trying to develop within the New Foundation family, is that's how we build better. We've got to build better communities, a better state, and a better nation, and we do so through the family. And I've just been blessed that agriculture has helped bring my family together. You know what? I know these things, and when I say I know these things, let me go back to it just as a producer, as a farmer, and I think you'll find all the farmers in and around your area, they know how to do their job. They're not afraid to experiment. They will, from time to time, try things, but you know what? It comes back oftentimes to the things that they know. And they know these core principles work. That's why these 12 steps and these 12 lessons to me are so important. But the third one is just this, that I know that our boundaries are important. Our boundaries are definite. Where our property line is what I'm responsible for. And I have to be a good neighbor, absolutely. Does this transcend into some other things we're seeing, perhaps as a country and a state, and understanding the strength of our border? That's a whole nother discussion we could talk about probably for an hour and a half. But just knowing that there are boundaries. Aren't there boundaries for our families? Aren't there boundaries for children? We establish those in a responsible society, absolutely. But I've learned very quickly that I still have some of the ancient land markers made of granite that are on corners of my property that were put down generations ago. And that teaches a little bit about our heritage, but it also reinforces that importance of respect of the land, respect for the boundary, respect for neighbors. And that's a great lesson that I've learned. Number 4, this may be a little agriculturally wonky or too much, but there were some producers in the room, and I know you're going to understand this, and I hope you'll understand my pride when I communicate it to you, because I know the importance of soil health. I mean, you have to invest in it. You have to invest in your land if you expect the greatest amount of productivity. Investing, and as we know, as inputs in agriculture, they are they continue to go up. Thankfully, commodity prices this year are a little bit better that we can do that. But we have a point of pride in my farm, in Harmony Grove Farms in Jackson County, Georgia. For the first time in my life, the 6 pastures we have, including our bullpen, every pasture I have is at 6.4 pH or higher. And that's going to be good for a mixed Bermuda and fescue pasture. But that's what we've invested step by step to get to that point. And that's what we've got to do. If we want to lay the field, whether it's our family, our career, whatever it is, investing in soil health, investing in the land, there's a great lesson that comes from that, because it pays dividends time and time again. I know this too, it kind of goes along with soil health. And I don't know about you, but I know that weeds, they cut into productivity. I hate a weed. And we fight them at our place all the time. Are we winning? Yeah, we're much further along than we used to be. And actually early this morning, as I was checking calves before coming to Atlanta today, I saw the results of us, being able to control weeds on our fence line and those kind of things. We're doing that, doing it responsibly, doing it the right way. But folks, I suppose this could get real personal very quickly. I suppose all of us have weeds in our life. They rob us. They rob us of nutrients. They rob us of moisture. They rob us of productivity. And there's some self-examination that I know I can do, perhaps all of us can do, but it's a lesson in the PhD of life taught by UGA, the University of Georgia Agriculture. To me, is just simply this. We need to I want to rid my pasture of weeds, but there's a personal introspectively there that I want to rid them from my life too. And I think I'm sure that's what this ministry is all about, and what you're assisting folks in doing. So let's be as productive as possible. The best way to start is to get rid of the weeds. I know this too. And we take different control measures for this. Predators, I know that predators are dangerous. We guard against them. Now, I'll tell you this: the last predator who met his demise on my farm was a coyote. That is, and we're particularly concerned about that during calving season, which we're right in the middle of that. Those are terrible things. they are not welcome at my place. Matter of fact, the last one I exterminated and removed was from 250 yards away in my barn. Now, before my head gets too big, I have to admit that I missed him from 75 yards. But I reached out and touched him from 250 yards, and that's what. But ladies and gentlemen, they're predators all around us. We've got to guard against them. We should guard against them as a nation. Should guard against them within our families, because there's great harm can come from a predator. Maybe different things to different people, but a predator is something we should work against. I know this too, that and every producer will know this. You know what? Equipment that is properly maintained is always available for us to use. Now, we may have pieces of equipment that we just don't put the grease gun quite to it. We don't do the repetitions that are necessary. We don't put in the practice so then when all of a sudden we have to use that skill or talent, or we have to use that particular piece of equipment, it's inoperable. Something malfunctions. That costs us time, it costs us resources, and we must properly maintain our equipment. That gets back to the family too. It gets back to the core principles of our country. They must be properly maintained. We've got to pass on to the next generation the importance of that maintenance. If we do so, society benefits from that. I think we're seeing actually some of the challenges across the country right now where it's not being maintained. We pretend to forget where we've come to. Oh yeah, that nice little thing called the Constitution is over there. But if we don't keep it greased, we don't keep relating that information on to the next generation, we're just one generation away from that being lost. And it's time that we properly maintain it. We do on my farm. I wish I was better at that because I still catch myself shorthanded on some things like that. Got a new shed going up this month that's going to help us help in that regard to get some equipment out of the weather. But let's keep our equipment properly maintained. I know it'll be a benefit to us. You know what? During calving season, which is what's happening at my house right now. Now I know we have a great every morning an opportunity to be retrained and reminded of the value of every life. I had a little bull calf born 10 days ago. He is going to get right now, because I saw him this morning, he's going to get the award for resiliency and tenacity, and once and within his little mind the will to live came alive, then I don't think anything's going to stop him now. We had real problems the first week. It's a registered semi-tall calf. It's a bull calf that could wind up being a bull test. I'm looking forward to that. I hope so. I hope we can recover him. But here, I had to drench him. I think we drenched him 3 times just to get enough electrolytes in him. Just simply those first couple of days, the will to live was not there. The boy came alongside, had some insect problems, had lots of different things, and then just last weekend, he finds himself in a mud bog up to his flanks. And it's just a small place, but he literally was in a cartoon quicksand. And it took my son and Lydia rescued him from that. I saw him more. Everything's great. This morning he's great. He's bright as can be, catching up with everybody else, and I hope we're going to do. But folks, that appreciation for life, that's one lesson that comes from agriculture. I will tell you this, I believe we could solve many of the problems in America if every student in America was a basic part of their education, they were required to care for something else that is living. If we could, even if it was a plant, if it was a goldfish, there's a life that is dependent upon me, my personal responsibility, work ethic, the things that go with that. I don't know if we're going to solve that issue tonight, but what I do know is in my PhD of life that's come from the University of Georgia Agriculture, I get a dose of reminding the value of and precious nature of every life during this time at our farm. And I hope those things mean something to you. There are things that go along with cattle that I think apply to life too. We all will from time to time have a broken fence. We'll all from time to time have an inoperable gate. Those physical things on our farm they have to be fixed. We have to fix fences. That's how you. I've got 2 places right now where I've got a tree down on top wire that have to be fixed this weekend. That's what keeps everybody where they're supposed to be. It does help keep those predators we just talked about keeping them out. But I tell you what, it's taking pride in where you live. It's been keeping things as they should be. I don't know what fences you have in your life that need to be fixed. I've got physical ones. Sometimes I have those in my very being that have to be fixed. That's what we've got to do as good citizens within our state and nation, our church, our family. I hope you'll be on the fence mending business after this presentation. I know that even when working cattle, that success and motivation do not always rely upon a heightened decibel level of the voice. Now that is something that's very difficult for me. When I'm pretty calm. I'm not shouting at you today. I think I'm probably coming to call pretty calm. There's a switch goes on with me in the cow pen. It may for some of you. It shouldn't be. Never contributes to success. That's one thing I'm working on. But in life, I think that transcends over in life PhD. You know what? We're not going to solve problems with the decibel level of our voice. We're not going to solve problems of this country with the decibel level of our digital voice either. This is a very useful device. It is a very dangerous device. When we choose a heightened decibel level to speak to one another in tones and in words that we would not ever dare say to each other face to face, but we might in social media feel the keyboard courage to do so. We ought to lower our decibel level, lower it within our families, lower it within our country, come together, try to work those problems out. We're going to have differences, no doubt about that, but I don't think you solve them just simply with a decibel level of our voice. I know that success requires doing all of the above and more, but guess what? You know what? We have to do it when it's hot, when it's cold. We have to do it when it's wet. We pray about it when it's dry. We do it at nighttime. We do it in morning time. We do it on holidays. And I think for a lot of these problems that we've talked about today, most of them have to be done pretty much at an inconvenient time. There are many of these that are done on my farm at times when it seems like it's least convenient. But guess what? That's where discipline comes in. When we're disciplined and we do these things together, good things are the result. Now, my last one for you here has absolutely nothing to do with agriculture. It's a 12th lesson that I've learned from UGA, but it actually does relate to agriculture, because if you're in agriculture, I think you'll find yourself praying a lot. But my last point to you today as we wrap up is just that I know that Benjamin Franklin was right. Now, what do you mean, Gary? Well, see, they gathered together in the Constitutional Convention some 4 or 5 weeks into that, trying to establish a government that we currently live under today. It was the wisdom of the 81-year-old elder statesman that rose and asked to be recognized. He was recognized by President Washington, who was president of the Constitutional Congress there, and they were the convention. And he said, I'd like to be recognized. He said, what have you, Mr. Franklin? He said, Mr. President, we seem ourselves here in this room groping about in darkness, trying to find some measure of government through the constitutions of Europe. We can't find any that are suitable to our cause. And I think I'm a bit melancholy, he says, because see, we're groping around in darkness and we're not able to find wisdom, and we couldn't even identify it if we did see it. And he said, now, I know during the early parts of this battle, back during the Revolutionary War, he says, we convened in this room, Independence Hall in Philadelphia. He said, we had no hesitation of opening this assembly in prayer. And we would seek guidance from the Father of lights, asking him to illuminate our way. But he said, now in a time of peace, have we forgotten that powerful friend? Then Franklin says this. Now mind you, Benjamin Franklin was not a deacon in the First Baptist Church of Pennsylvania. Far from it. But this is what Franklin said. He said, Mr. President, I have lived, sir, a long time, and the longer I live, the more convincing proofs I see of this truth that God governs in the affairs of men. And if a sparrow cannot fall to the ground without his notice, is it probable that an empire could rise without his aid? We've been assured, sir, in the sacred writings that except the Lord build the house, they labor in vain that build it. Then Franklin said, I firmly believe this. And I also believe that without his concurring aid, we shall succeed in this political building no better than the builders of Babel. We shall be divided by our little, partial, local interests. Our projects shall be confounded, and I fear that we shall become a reproach and a byword down to the future ages. And what is worse, because of this unfortunate circumstance, mankind may despair of establishing governments by human wisdom and leave it to chance, war, or conquest. And he sat down. Now, his call was for prayer for that group. Now, Alexander Hamilton mocked him. We think the disturbances we see today are new. The struggle for liberty has always been there. It's always been contentious. Alexander Hamilton mocked Franklin. Then they got into a discussion. I don't think maybe it's a really good idea that we have prayer before, but we don't have enough money to pay a preacher. Literally, that's what they said. To formally invite a minister in, we don't have enough money. So they argued back and forth. Anyway, they finally settled that was a good idea. I guess they passed the hat, took up a collection, got a pastor in, and been praying before the Congress ever since, up until today. That's a part of our history. That is our heritage. But I've learned that not just through my PhD of life in agriculture, but it's what I've learned as a part of life of just of being a Georgian and American. It's what we must desperately return to. May I leave you with that challenge. Heed the words of Franklin. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure to be with you. Remember, this PhD in life is available to all. There's a lot of different, I bet we could take these 12 lessons, I bet there's 40 more that you have that we could add. And you could take these and maybe rewrite them into whatever your experiences would be, but I bet you this, I bet we could all agree. If we could take these lessons, we could gain that degree. That's going to be a better state and a better country for all of us. To the entire staff at New Foundations, thank you again for for the opportunity to share with you. Thank you for what you're doing to impact lives of Georgians. May God continue to bless you in your work.
Now, we have a special guest, and it is my honor, my privilege to introduce to you the governor of the state of Georgia, Brian Kemp.
Good evening. This is Governor Brian Kemp. I'm sorry I can't join you in person, but I wanted to take a moment to welcome you and thank New Foundations for their great work on behalf of their fellow Georgians. New Foundations is committed to helping men regain their dignity and self-respect through career and social development. Because of these efforts, we hope to see a reduction in recidivism, unemployment, and criminal activity in the communities they serve. Ultimately, New Foundations provides families in Southwest Georgia a hand up, not a handout. Their counseling, mentoring, and transition services enrich the lives of so many. They can't do it alone, and I want to thank everyone at the Gala tonight for supporting this great cause. Thank you for giving your time, your money, and your prayers to this effort. By working together, we can keep Georgia the best state in the nation to live, work, and raise a family. Thanks again, and God bless.
Thank you, Governor Kemp. Thank you for supporting New Foundations in our transition house as we work to help change the lives of men here in South Georgia. I want to talk to you a moment about time that you can give us. I hope by now that you've seen the need and you have thought of some ways that you can help New Foundations reach the men and their families who need a hand up in life, not a handout. This takes money, and we're aware of that. And so one of the things that we have looked at is how do we work to make New Foundations long-lasting? How do we create a flow of income for the future? And so one of the things that we have already put into the plan is, well, basically it's a farm, and the men in our program will be able to learn skills of farming, of cultivating fruits and vegetables, raising these plants, and then selling the fruits and vegetables that we are able to raise. Now I want to show you an architectural drawing of what we envision as our vegetable stand, as you might call it. Yeah, however, it's not really a vegetable stand. It is a beautiful building that we are planning in the near future that will allow men to work and sell the fruits and vegetables that we have raised on our own property here in southern Georgia. And well, I want you to take a look at this picture here. Something that our community can be proud of, something that the men in our program will learn confidence and competence and learn how to interact with people, learn how to sell our fruits and vegetables, and we hope that this will create an income stream in the future that will make New Foundations self-supporting in the years to come. However, today, that is not here. We don't have a farm that's growing fruits and vegetables yet. We don't have the facility to sell fruits and vegetables if we had them. And the first piece that we need is our transition center. Now, I'm going to give you a number, and I want you to picture men who will be able to sleep at night, who will be able to rest, who will have classrooms where they can meet with mentors, that will have a facility that will have mentors staying in the transition center with the men in our multi-year program. And so here's what we need. We need $200,000. This will help us get the transition center off the ground, built, furnished, and the facilities ready to go that will allow men to move into the transition center and have a place to sleep. And so I ask, how can you help New Foundations? We are a Georgia 501c3, and we are active now. We have men in our counseling program. We have men lined up, ready to go for the transition center. But we need a building. We need rooms. We need the facilities and the furnishings that these men will have, that they'll be able to sleep in and rest on and work to change their lives. So can you help us? How can you help New Foundations? I would ask, first of all, that you share this video with your friends. Tell people to go to our website, newfoundationsinc.com, newfoundationsinc.com. We have a list there of things that we need that will help us to move forward in the very near future.